Welcome, everybody. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we have a mission to change the world one brave word at a time. And here today to help me do that is Hemali Vora, the lead author of one of our newest books called Sacred Death, 25 Tools for Caregivers. You guys, Hemali is an expert holistic practitioner, intuitive energy healer, and spiritual mentor. Her mission is to empower healthcare workers and caregivers toward radical self-care, unconditional self-love, and reclaiming their power. She guides them to their unique legacy blueprint by tapping into their inner wisdom and living an aware life. Welcome, Hemali.
Thank you.
I'm really happy to be here with you and really getting into this juicy discussion about this very profound and powerful book. I know from the start, as we began the discussion and we're thinking of doing this, I think both of us felt the power in it and the importance of getting a book out like this. But tell us a little bit about your story. Like, how did you get here doing what you're doing today?
um, so last year I had this, I had been meditating. I do Reiki, and so I've been practicing meditation daily since 6, 7 years now. And I was in this mission in 2019 that I wanted to meet my guides and or angels and talk to them. And so one night I wake up and I see a vision. But of course, I got really scared. But I knew that it was something very holy and powerful being that was in my presence. And since I had been doing this meditation to see who my guides are and talk to them, I just knew it. And I asked who it was. And um, what I heard was Angel of Death. And I thought that was pretty interesting. And fast forward, then right, like the synchronistic events that started happening to lead me to end of life doula course, which I didn't even know something like that existed beginning of 2020. So I enrolled myself after back and forth with the guide, like, are you sure? I have so many things that I do. One more thing to add behind my, one more modality to add in. And I was like, what am I going to do with that? Do I really want to, would I be good at it? First of all, do I really want to be in the space in hospice care or be present or witness somebody passing over? And what I was shown is, as early as my childhood, I have been so connected to death. And I've said it a few times in my teenage years too, that there's something about death in me. And I didn't know what that meant. It's like that knowing, sometimes, the clear cognizance, like you just know. And the truth, when you speak something, the thought that comes, it's like, that's the truth. And so it's been just so many incidents that comes to mind, death of a dear friend when I was pregnant with my son and how devastated I was. But before that, I was in India and my friend was in the hospital, but I felt his soul, like it was night and I was just laying down in this town and I just felt his soul, him pacing out there. And this was in 2007 and I wasn't really into any of this healing work or didn't know what that meant, but I knew it was him. And I'm having this internal conversation with him, just calm down, what's going on, tell me. And then as soon as we have this conversation, my uncle's in the other room and he gets a call from a friend from US saying that, he's at his last stage, if you guys want to talk to him. So it's like that. And next day, my uncle had an accident. And So it's like I've always been so close around there and the spirit that are transitioning. And so it's just, it feels like I am exactly where I'm supposed to be. And thank you for the suggestion. I feel like when I first thought about writing or leading a book, I was really thinking about doing something in healing, something about Reiki and or just energy work and how it helps, um, and how you can see the miracle that life holds and how you can live this beautiful life. But when you suggested um, to talk about death, I was really taken aback. I had to really get used to the thought. And then other authors started coming. Like once I was comfortable with the topic. So I don't know if I've answered your question, but
No, that's a wonderful look inside to, what brought you here today. And listen, you were already practicing physical therapist.
yeah.
You were doing work in nutrition. Tell me a little bit about what you were doing before this started.
Um, so I've been physical therapist for the last 21 years. I graduated in 2000 with my master's. And I worked at hospitals and nursing homes, and my passion is working with geriatric population, and I just love them dearly. And hospital, so acute care is also my passion. But with nutrition, my kids were getting sick all the time. They have asthma. I had to, sacrifice my career because my kids were always sick. So I couldn't go in. So I worked as needed basis. So I did an online holistic course, a year-long course. And when I started shifting and changing things in our house in terms of eating, meditation, breathing, all that started shifting. They started getting better. Our life started looking much better. We were able to go out like during allergy seasons. My kids were able to play in the grass because they had grass allergies and things. So shifting that, and also had done Reiki. That was something when I was in PT school. I just knew there was something about my hand. I could feel the energy in my palms. And when I was treating these elderly ladies with fibromyalgia, so to speak, in those days in 90s, it was like a psychological issue, right? That they hadn't figured out what was going on. But I could exactly tell, I could feel the warmth wherever they were hurting. And I was able to go there and just kind of lay my hand there. And I knew of Reiki. So I knew that there was something that I needed to do with Reiki. And so along the same time, I did Reiki certification course when I did the holistic. Actually, I did Reiki before the nutrition. So I was really integrating this physical therapy, so movement, nutrition, and energy work. And I saw such a profound improvement in my patients' lifestyle and pain reduction, more clarity, stress reduction. If they were anxious, that would just calm them down. And I worked at the hospital where I saw more, in rehab at least, we saw more of stroke patients. And I also did a lot of total hip, total knee patients where even with stroke patient, I asked, after hours, like after I would finish working, I would ask patients, like, would they like Reiki? And I guess you were at that point, at that crisis point that you would try anything. And so when I would do my session with them, and next day when I would come and work with them, or any therapist would work with them, they had so much clarity and focus, even with their aphasia, even with anything that was going on, to see that difference. And then I talked about nutrition with their family so that there's no reoccurrence with stroke. And you can have stroke multiple times, you can have heart attacks. So how do you improve, go to the root cause? How is your stress level, emotional level? So my whole therapy practice shifted in an amazing way.
And it's not surprising that you took all of those tools and ideas and theories, holistic
Yeah.
tools, and brought them into sacred death and this
Mhm.
other kind of topic, right? It's still a holistic journey. So, one thing I realized when reading the book was the other level of connection available to me about that end of life process. It has to do with my awareness and a few other things, but mostly that death is not to be feared, but more to be curious and open about.
Right.
So, what do you want to tell the listeners about that, like to add to that idea?
Mm. So, and that's how I shifted and changed when my dad passed away 11 years ago. I was devastated and, going through these motions or emotions. Um, when I started seeing his life and his legacy, I wanted to know what my legacy was, what my life was. And that's how I was shifted. And so I kind of went out on that path. And the more I was aware of my thoughts, aware of my actions, and really looking at every aspect of life. We make it so complicated. It's very easy, and it's every moment holds so much miracle and magic in it. And to see that sacredness, and every moment has these teaching lessons, right? You see, I mean, there's so much out there in the nature too that teaches you all these things, that to be aware. And so the more you're open to being present in your life, and it's always about living till the last breath you take. It doesn't matter what the diagnosis is, or it doesn't matter what comes in as dis-ease or that end of life. But being present and preparing, knowing that what is it that you want, living life without regrets. So really being aware in every moment that leads you there. And I hope I answered your questions, but and you will see that every author has, that the death of their loved ones or their experiences with it has taken that sorrow and pain and shifted it. And every one of us have gone through this life-changing experience, and we all go through that. But taking that opportunity and suffering and pain, we all have been in that, that bottom, and of losing, and death could be of relationships, death could be of situations, even your former, like someone, like I was talking about a stroke, right? So that if you don't have the ability to use certain body part, so that's death of your former self, and now you're in this new self. How do you accept? How do you let go? How do you surrender? All these things, kind of living that makes you um, see, like seeing, having different perspective, looking at it differently. And the same thing with death. It's like there's so many signs, beautiful signs, that we are surrounded by these magical beings and our ancestors, and they're always around us. We just have to ask for their guidance. We just have to ask for their help.
So you've brought up a few terms I want to go back to, letting go, surrender, the ancestors. Let's talk a little bit more about our authors. And first of all, I'll just say a big thank you to all of the authors that came into this project. What a beautiful thing that you did in bringing your authentic stories, like Hemali was saying about your experiences. And then we're offering tools for caregivers, for family members, for friends, for the people who care at that stage of life.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm just constantly blown away by their ability to bring those tools to us in this book. But tell us a little bit more about what this book offers in terms of those things.
Um, well, isn't it amazing to have 25 authors writing about their stories, their heart-shattering stories. And some people have lost their children, they've lost their siblings, or their partner, their life partner, parents, or pets. And, these things, it's like this immense love that you have for them. And that's how your grief is going to be, that immense grief. And everybody shares their story, and everybody, I feel that we all are healers. We all have the ability to do what, you know, any one of us are doing, and to heal ourselves. And really, to these authors have come up with what helped them. We are trillions of people in this world, and that many unique perspective there are, and that many ways of healing ourselves. So I'm hoping that you can relate to maybe one author or a few of them. While I was reading a couple of chapters, I was like, oh my God, I know who I need to tell to read this chapter, because they had this question about the dreams and visions, and what does that signify, and how do you decipher them? So there's something for all of us, because again, because we are born, or our bodies are born, we are going to die, right? Well, our bodies are going to die. And so we have different concepts in there too. The part of that immortality, what are souls that travel, so different perspective from different ancient traditions. And that's what I wanted to bring out, that there's no one thing and there's no wrong or right. I just wanted to talk openly about death and openly about life. um, and embracing death. For me, embracing my dad's death, that's when I started living. And that's when I started really finding this magical life that there is, and living to my fullest potential. Um, so I feel that every tool gives you either meditation, it gives you how to create an altar um, if you're interested in that. But it gives you that solace. It gives you that knowing that you're not alone. We all have been through this, and there are ways to um, carry yourself through this. And we are here to hold your hand if you do, need or want to go deeper into your pain and suffering. And we're here for you.
So tell everyone a little bit about what you're up to in the world with your offerings right now. What do you have going on?
So after in September, I am going to offer an 8-week course, and it's a sacred death course. And what it really, I've seen recently, of course, with COVID, we cannot not speak about COVID, and how people are lonely, and people, their loved ones, if they had to go to the hospital, they were not able to be with them at their end stage, and how that suffering looks like. It's totally different, and so what I'm offering is this 8 weeks class where um, you're comfortable talking about death. There are so many people that are anxious and afraid of dying, not only for themselves but others out there, their loved ones. And so how can you work through those fears? How can you just live just one moment at a time? And so we're gonna write our own obituary. We're gonna prepare, or you can write obituary for your loved one, or how do you work on your legacy project? We always think so that we haven't done enough in life. We haven't helped enough people, or we think legacy means you're doing this huge organization and you're helping. It could be just a smile that you share with a passerby. It's being in that authentic self, and how do you come up like that? So those are some of the offerings. I also do just separately one-on-one legacy projects. If you're looking for that, I do one-on-one healing sessions, so Reiki, quantum healing. It's online or in person, or I come to your house too in DMV area.
And that's DC, Maryland, and Virginia for you listeners who are global.
Thank
Hemali, wrap us up with one last question here. What do you think is the biggest thing you want people to know about this topic of sacred death?
I want people to be open to talk about it and talk with um, your family members, someone who is going through um, their end of life process. Openly ask them how they're feeling, ask them about their experiences, what they see, the surroundings, their loved ones coming, the ancestors and angels surrounding them. They'll be able to tell you. Also, to be able to honor that person's wishes. It's when you're helping someone that is at their end of life, it's not about you, it's about them. And if you are the one at the end of your life, then it's about you and what your wishes are. So make sure that you have someone who honors your wishes, um, who is your God, who takes your guardianship. Yeah.
Really, really important. Thank you. Thank you for what you're doing in the world and for being here today to share it with everyone.
Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate all your help and the wonderful work that you do in the world.
Thank you. So listeners, remember, just drop down in the show notes. You're going to find Hemali's website, hemalivora.com, plus some Facebook links and Instagram links. And we've got the Sacred Death Community group on Facebook as well. So after you dive into this amazing book, you can come into that community and continue this conversation, which is one of Hemali's missions here, is to continue the conversation and be inspired to have those conversations with the people who really get it, and then to be able to go back into your families and carry on those conversations. And also, please join us on August 17th for a little book launch party on the Brave Healer Productions Facebook page. We're going to have all of the authors of Sacred Death there to talk about their chapters, and we'll have some wonderful inspiration for you and really cool discussion that day. And of course, if you're listening after August 17th, that means you can hop on over to Amazon and grab your copy of the book. It'll be ready. And I want you guys to know, if you are somebody who is ready to share your brave words with the world in a bigger way, visit bravehealer.com, find out more about our book publishing and collaborative projects like Sacred Death. Lastly, everybody, remember, you were born, so you are worthy. Your message matters. What if the thing you're still a little afraid to share is exactly what someone needs to hear to change or even save their life? It's time to be brave. See you next time, everybody. Thank you, Hemali.